The most dominant NASCAR driver of 2026 might not even be racing next season, and nobody's talking about why. Before we get into this, there is one detail buried at the end of this story that changes everything you think you know about Tyler Reddick's future. Stay until the end, you will not see it coming. If you're new here, we cover NASCAR deeper than anyone else on YouTube. Hit subscribe right now because this channel is about to blow up, and you want to be here before it does. Tyler Reddick is doing something that has not been done in NASCAR in almost 40 years. 5 wins, 9 races, a 105-point championship lead. The first driver in Cup Series history to win the opening 3 races of a season. These are not just good numbers, these are all-time numbers. The last driver to win 5 races in the first 9 starts of a season was Dale Earnhardt in 1987. And that year, Earnhardt went on to win 6 more races and claim his 3rd championship. Let that sink in. We are comparing Tyler Reddick to the Intimidator in his prime. The wins span every track type on the schedule. Daytona 500, Atlanta, a road course win at COTA, Darlington, Kansas, road course, superspeedway, intermediate, short track. He is beating everybody, everywhere. That road course win alone shuts down every single person who wants to say he got lucky on the big tracks. But the Darlington win is the one that will be talked about for years. His car completely lost its cooling system in brutal heat, and he still crossed the finish line 6 full seconds ahead of Brad Keselowski. In modern NASCAR, a 6-second gap is almost unheard of. That is not luck. That is something else entirely. In Kansas, he was not even the best car. He had to chase down his own team owner, Denny Hamlin, in the final laps. He scraped the wall. He nearly lost the lead. And then, he won in overtime on the very last lap. His spotter, Nick Payne, said it perfectly. Back against the wall, Reddick is probably the guy you want in that seat. The full season numbers are remarkable. 6 top 5s, 7 top 10s, 0 DNFs. His worst single finish all year is 15th. He has been on the lead lap in every single race this season. Kevin Harvick explained it simply. You cannot beat fast cars. Tyler Reddick has stepped up to deliver on fast cars. Kyle Petty called it the Toyota hot hand. Michael Jordan watched his 5th win from pit road at Kansas and just said, "He is on a heater. All you can do is get out of his way." So how did we get here? Because here is what makes this story so much more complicated than just celebrating a great driver having a great season. In 2025, 23XI Racing combined for exactly 1 win across 3 drivers for the entire year. 1. Bubba Wallace at the Brickyard 400. Tyler Reddick was completely winless. The entire organization was in the middle of a brutal legal war with NASCAR itself, racing without charters, dealing with reduced prize money, and genuine uncertainty about whether the team would even survive long-term. 1 win in a full season, now 5 wins in 9 races. Something changed, and the question of what changed is where this story gets very uncomfortable. In October 2024, 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports filed a federal antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR over the charter agreement system. The fight came down to 4 things: permanent charter status, revenue splits from the new television deal, governance rights, and restrictions on competing in other series. 23XI refused to sign the 2025 charter agreement because it contained a clause that would have forced them to drop the lawsuit entirely. What followed was 9 days of federal trial in a North Carolina courtroom starting December 1st, 2025. The testimony was extraordinary. Denny Hamlin testified. Michael Jordan testified. The CEO of Joe Gibbs Racing testified. NASCAR Chairman Jim France, Commissioner Steve Phelps, and Richard Childress all took the stand. Internal NASCAR text messages were revealed in open court. NASCAR President Steve O'Donnell had privately described a proposed charter draft as, and I'm quoting here, close to a dictatorship, motorsport, redneck, southern, tiny sport. The judge had already ruled before the trial even started that NASCAR holds monopoly power in the market of premier stock car racing. On December 11, 2025, on the 9th and final day of trial, a settlement was announced. The jury was dismissed. The judge said from the bench, "I believe this is great for NASCAR, great for the future of NASCAR, great for the teams, and ultimately great for the fans." The joint statement confirmed that 23XI and Front Row would receive evergreen charters, a financial payout, and a seat at the governance table. And then came the line that started everything. The financial terms of the settlement are confidential and will not be released. Sealed, hidden, gone. And then immediately after, 23XI became the most dominant force in the sport. Now, I want to be fair here. There are legitimate explanations for this performance jump that have nothing to do with anything suspicious. Steve Loletta, the team president, pointed directly to fundamentals. Pit crews improved dramatically in the offseason. Processes were refined. Communication got better. Kevin Harvick offered a structural explanation. 23XI just had less going on this year. Organizational stability after a legal war, combined with Toyota having the strongest car package in the field, is a real and logical chain. The Reddit community flagged another angle. Permanent charters mean investor confidence. Investor confidence means more resources, and more resources mean better cars. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is how business works. But here is the perception problem NASCAR now faces. A sealed financial settlement with the sport's immediately most dominant team, with zero public transparency about what the terms actually were, creates a credibility challenge that will not go away just because NASCAR says everything is fine. The online theories started immediately. Some people believe the settlement contained hidden competitive advantages embedded somewhere in the agreement that nobody is discussing openly. Some believe NASCAR granted 23XI preferential treatment of some kind. Some went further and said 23XI and Toyota are outright cheating. That last theory, interestingly, got pushed back against hard by Chevrolet fans themselves. One widely shared post put it this way: "Chevy has an entirely new body. You all have to do better than the cheating excuse." Tyler Reddick addressed the noise directly at a Talladega media session. His response was measured and honest. He said, "It is weird to be in this spot. There is certainly a lot of noise out there, a lot of speculation. But for me, it is easy to not get caught up in it because we know what we are doing and we know how we are doing it." He added, "I remember how I felt all of last year. I know how my team felt about last year. We do not want to go back to not winning." Now, here is the most important piece of evidence in this entire debate that almost nobody is talking about. Bubba Wallace is driving the same equipment on the same team with the same resources as Tyler Reddick. Through 9 races, Wallace sits 7th in the standings with 1 top 5 and 5 top 10s. 2 rough finishes, a 34th at Darlington and a 36th at Martinsville, have pulled his averages down. But strip those 2 races out, and his season looks remarkably similar to Reddick's in terms of raw pace and execution. When Steve Letarte asked Wallace about his teammates' dominance, Wallace was completely candid. He said, "Incredible to see how we came off last year. Reddick went winless. And then, all of a sudden, it's like, who lit a fire under his ass?" I think he took going winless to heart. I did it for 3 years. This sport is so hard. And I think the conversations we had with leadership and the preseason meetings just kind of lit a fire in everybody. Wallace also said, "I have had 0 why him moments. None of that. It is just, when is it our turn?" Think about what that tells you. If 23XI's advantage were purely artificial, baked into a settlement agreement or some form of hidden structural benefit, it would almost certainly be showing up consistently in both cars. The fact that Reddick is the one converting while Wallace is close but not winning points directly at one thing: driver execution, mental focus, the kind of relentless preparation that comes from a man who spent an entire year being humiliated while knowing he had the talent to win. The Jimmy Johnson parallel is worth making here. Johnson dominated NASCAR for years and faced cheating accusations throughout his entire dynasty at Hendrick Motorsports. His legacy ultimately survived, but the noise never fully stopped, even after the dominance ended. Tyler Reddick is walking into that exact same dynamic, and he is only 9 races into it. This is where you need to keep watching, because what happened next has nothing to do with lap times. May 23, 2026, hours before the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Ivana Howell, 35 years old, a senior account manager at 23XI Racing, was arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon inflicting serious injury. According to Cabarrus County court records, a judge found probable cause that Howell intentionally struck a 77-year-old man with a golf cart at the track. She posted a $125,000 bond and was released. Her court date is scheduled for June 16th. NASCAR listed Howell on its weekly penalty report with an indefinite suspension for a behavioral violation. Now here is why this matters beyond just the headline. Howell was not a peripheral team member. She was one of 23XI's original employees joining in 2021. She was promoted to senior account manager in January 2024. She managed the team's major sponsorship relationships. Her background included roles with the Charlotte Hornets, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Feld Entertainment, 2 master's degrees. She was, in practical terms, the face of 23XI's sponsor partnerships. Corporate sponsors do not simply invest in race wins. They invest in brand image, organizational reputation, long-term stability. And boardroom brand managers ask questions when headlines keep arriving. A sealed legal settlement, a performance controversy, and now a felony charge against the person who manages your sponsorship relationships. With the June 16th court date approaching, there is almost certainly more coverage coming regardless of the outcome. And now we get to the question that nobody is asking loudly enough. Is Tyler Reddick actually staying at 23XI long-term? He is 30 years old. He is in the absolute prime of his career. He is putting together a season for the history books, and he has never, not once, said publicly that he will be at 23XI for the long haul. At Talladega, he talked about the noise, he talked about winning, he talked about the team's hunger. He did not talk about his future with the organization. If the sponsor base begins showing instability in the wake of the Howell incident, if the conspiracy headlines continue drowning out the championship narrative, and if that June 16th court date generates further damaging coverage, the calculations around Reddick's future at this team become more complicated than his lap times would ever suggest. Hendrick Motorsports is one of the most stable, clean image operations in NASCAR history. Other blue-chip organizations exist. Reddick has options, and his silence on long-term commitment is quiet, but it is not nothing. Before this season started, Reddick said, "I remember how I felt all of last year. I know how my team felt. We do not want to go back to not winning." That quote reveals genuine emotional investment. The question hanging over everything right now is whether the path back to not winning could come from off-track chaos, not from anything that happens on the racetrack. Speed means nothing if the foundation underneath it starts to crack. Tyler Reddick is winning every race. Sponsors are watching June 16th very carefully. And Reddick himself keeps saying they are still finding more speed, but has never once said he is going anywhere long-term. Sometimes the most dangerous place to be is exactly where everyone is watching you. The June 16th court date is 12 days away, and nobody, not NASCAR, not 23XI, not Reddick himself, has said what happens next. We will cover it the moment it breaks. Subscribe so you are there when it does.